taking a minute to do the introductions, and we want to hear everything that Leonard has to say. Just there's a quick announcement. There is the Faith Forum that goes on here at ECM is starting tonight, 22nd. Judaism and Peace and War. There are a series of 5. There's information up there for those of you who are interested. It starts at 6:30 with an optional dinner if you're interested. Our speaker today is Leonard Krustalka. Let me give you a brief bio on his background. Since 1995, Leonard Krustalka has served as the director of Biodiversity Institute and its Natural History Museum, just down the street from here, and is a professor of ecology and evolutionary biology at the University of Kansas. He was previously research paleontologist, assistant director for science at Carnegie Museum of History in Pittsburgh. It's a great museum, by the way. And served as a program officer at the National Science Foundation, director for biological sciences, responsible for research and biocollections of worldwide biological diversity. He studied biology, anthropology, paleontology at McGill. I didn't realize you were Canadian background. McGill, where James Naismith was a student, in Montreal, and later, and at the University of Alberta in Edmonton, where he received a MS degree before completing his doctoral studies here at KU and at Texas Tech. His research encompasses evolution of mammals during the past 100 million years. There's a chunk of time. Wow. Participating in leading paleontology field expeditions throughout the Western Canada, US, Europe, Africa, China, and Patagonia. He's authored all kinds of research articles and books so that he can get tenure. And, he occasionally he is an occasional op-ed columnist in the Lawrence Journal World. I have to tell you that I regularly and religiously, pardon the pun here, but read his stuff as an antidote to Cal Thomas and some of the other folks in the journal world that make me nuts. Anyhow, Leonard, we're glad to have you here. He's going to speak on the interface between science and religion and whatever direction that takes it. And I want to ask you to speak directly into the microphone so us who are poor of hearing can hear you.
Thank you very much. I wonder if we could kill the lights so that you can see these slides better. Okay. And maybe these here too.
I think those can, yeah.
Wonderful. So it's a pleasure for me to be here to talk to Ecumenical Ministries. I've spoken here before, and I applaud all the wonderful work you do, and kinds of conversations, civil conversations that you promote in an otherwise very tribal world of conflict. And in that sense, I'm asking you, I may say some things that you will not like and you will disagree with, but don't get mad at me. I'm going to start with science and biology and then go to religion. And basically I want to show you the kind of pickle we're in. So let's look at Earth's natural systems, and especially what I know most about is the biodiversity in the animals and plants of the planet. And what are the 4 big challenges we're facing? And are they doable or not in this era of science? The first is the diversity of life. What are the animals and plants that live on Earth? Well, let's start with from 1750 until today, we've described about 1.8 million species of plants and animals on Earth. Okay? Let's say there's twice as many. Let's say there's 3.6, so there's another 1.8 undescribed. At the current rate of scientific discovery of the biodiversity of the planet, how long will it take for us to get a hold of those other 1.8 million species? By 2150. That's sort of doable, but at the rate of extinction that is going on now, half of the plants and animals of the globe may be extinct by 2150. According to all experiments and observations by biologists in the field. But what if the true diversity of life on the planet is 10 times what we know? 18 million species. There are some biologists who work in the field who say it's 20, 30, 40 times what we know now. And that what we know now is just scratching the surface. Well, how long would it take to describe all the rest of life on Earth in order for us to use it and sustain it for the natural systems of the planet? It'll take forever. We don't have enough people doing this. So something has to happen now, right now, if we are going to take stock of the animals and plants of the world that provide the life support systems that all of us depend on. The production of oxygen, the take-up of carbon dioxide, the circulation of gases, food supplies, and so forth. Imagine if aliens, intelligent aliens, landed from the planet Mongo. Just you know, a thought experiment. And they land. Of course, they're an advanced civilization because they can travel through space at the speed of light. They land and they take out their little sensors and they say, you know, we've sensed that there's 20 million species of animals and plants on this planet. You guys are lucky. That's why we're here. Can you tell us what they are? You've been around for 5,000 years doing this kind of work. Can you tell us what they are?
No.
And we say, we scratch our head and say, well, we kind of know about 5%. And they get in their spaceship and they conclude we're a very primitive species and they go off. Okay. So how hard will it be to get the rest of, I'm sorry about this slide, how hard will it be to get the rest of life on Earth? Well, we've kind of captured the low-hanging fruit, not to mix a metaphor, but all of the stuff in here, all the tiny stuff, the minuscule stuff, the just visible stuff, and there's squillions of it, is what is left for us to do. And there's no way for us to do it. We've already found the food items. We found a possible predator. It's this stuff. It's what I'm calling quantum biology, like quantum physics, like capturing atoms. Specifically, I bet you never hear much about microbial life. But you know what? It's more important than any of the plants you just ate, or any of the wheat that grew the pasta that you just ate, or the tomatoes that you just ate. Why am I saying that? At least 50% of life on Earth is microbes. Most of it was invisible until a few years ago when genomic sequencing allowed us to sense these. What do I mean? You go to the beach, you take a shovel, you take a bit of sand from the beach area, and you throw it into a DNA sequencer. Out comes 10,000 different sequences of bacteria, of microbes. We don't know what they are. We don't know what they look like. But you've got 10,000 different ones. Do it 5 minutes later, you've got 10,000 more. Do it 10 minutes later, you've got 10,000 more. And they're all different one from the other. What's going on here? This is a life form that is completely different than anything else. Microbes breathe for the planet. 95% of the planet's breathing, the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide, is done by microbes. If you're worried about carbon in the atmosphere, if you're worried about global climate change caused by too much CO2, it is microbes that fix 45 gigatons, that's a ton of tons, of carbon every year. Without them, we'd be a hothouse. We'd be like Venus. There'd be no life on Earth. And microbes in the soil, in the water, control all, in the air, control all ecosystems. Microbes are on and in every organism. Right now, there are probably 30, 40, maybe 100 different populations of microbes on your skin. And there are scientists that, you know, scientists go out and do the survey the plants and animals of a country. Well, there's now scientists that are surveying the microbes of your skin as a biogeographic study. You got different ones here, and different ones here, and different ones in the armpit, and different ones in the wrist, and different ones between your fingers, and so forth. And that applies to the rest of your body. They're everywhere. They're in every single environment, in the air, in the soils, in the sea, freshwater, saltwater. And they're super abundant. I'll give you some statistics. A milliliter of seawater has 4 to the 10 gazillion DNA molecules. There's more microbes in a bucket of seawater than there are all the mammals of Africa. Number of stars in the Milky Way is 10 to the 11th, however big that is. A gram, just a gram, a little pinch of soil has 10 to the 10th microbial cells with many, many thousands of different genes. We don't know what these organisms are. You can't culture them, you can't see them. All we get is a little genetic signature. And yet, they run the planet. Okay? They are the puppeteers. We are the puppets. You have to switch your whole thing. Okay, the second challenge, once we figured out everything that lives on Earth, is how are they all related by evolution, which might be a dirty word in Kansas, but it's not in this one. What is the tree of life? What is the kinship of all of life on Earth going back 3.5 billion years? Well, I'll give you a thought experiment. There's the known world, and there you are, right there, that little red circle. Let's expand it. This is a tree of life. Animals, you're there. Let's zoom in. You are right here. Let's zoom in some more. There we are. Homo sapiens. In between the mouse and this amphibian. Each one of these black bars is about 10,000 species we know nothing about.
Oh my God.
I was talking to you about microbes. This is an illustration of how important they are. So, all the animals and plants are right here. That's it. All the animals and plants called eukaryotes, multicellular animals and plants. There's a human. This is a tree of life. There's a chimp. There's a mouse, mosquito, rice, amoebas. And all the rest? All the rest are one form of microbial life called archaea, and all the rest, bacteria. We know nothing. Let me compare this to, you all know what the periodic table of the elements is in chemistry. You know, it starts with hydrogen, goes all the way to way past uranium now. Imagine if we only knew 5%. Imagine there's 100 elements, actually there's more. But imagine there was only 5%. We only knew 5% of the periodic table. How far would chemistry and all of industry go? Nowhere. Nothing after boron. That's how we are in biology right now. Okay, the third challenge is figuring out the genes of all the organisms on Earth. What do they code for? How do they code for them? How do they code for diseases? How do they code for all sorts of other things? Well, this is a huge problem. How much DNA is there in the world to measure? The total DNA on Earth is 1.2 times 10 to the 37 molecules of DNA. I don't know what 10 to the 37 is, but it's a gazillion squillions. I don't know what it is. Maybe there's a mathematician in the audience who can tell me what the word for that is. To store all that knowledge, even if we were to sequence it, to store all that would take the mass of Mercury, Venus, the Earth, and Mars. It would take the mass of the 4 inner planets in 2 terabyte drives. Alternatively, If we could store knowledge in DNA itself, which actually MIT scientists have succeeded in doing, it's a storage capacity of a side of beef. Imagine storing all knowledge in DNA in a side of beef. I think it'd be a great industry, right? Let's say you store all of Shakespeare in the sirloin steak, and then people would eat it and they'd know all of Shakespeare. Finally, how do we fit all those three together? The diversity of life, the tree of life, and the language of life. How do we fit all those together into the ecology of life, the network of life, the web of life that actually forms the life support systems of the planet, the forests, the deserts, the seas, and so forth? Well, we don't really know. It's very complex. We know a little bit. But we also can't do much with that knowledge unless we combine this natural systems with human systems. Because only then are we going to be able to attack the problems of the planet. I'm going to make my first point here. There is no difference between natural systems and human systems, despite what it says in Genesis. And we've been paying that price ever since. All of life and everything created on the first 5 days. And we get the 6th day and you have humans. And they have been breeds apart in our heads, in our cultures, ever since. That's been a terrific mistake. So, natural and human systems, from agroecology to urban ecology to energy ecology. Remember, I was talking about the pickle we're in. I hope these pictures give you some idea of the pickle we're in. And the reciprocal impacts of human and natural systems. The loss of the biodiversity in ecosystems. Climate and global change. The change to communities and cultures caused by all that. That's an extinct quagga, by the way. Because of all of this, because of the pickle we're in and what we've done, biologists, geologists, natural philosophers have now established a new era of Earth's history called the Anthropocene. They're not sure when it started. Maybe 1750 with the Industrial Revolution and the Enlightenment. Maybe all the way back to 10,000 years ago with the origin of agriculture. But we now live in the Anthropocene. Why? Anthro means human. Scene means era. We live in the human era, where humans have the greatest impact on Earth. So the environment, unlike it says in Genesis, the environment is not a silent, passive backdrop to the human narrative on Earth. We are part and parcel of the environment. We create it, we destroy it, we alter it. And humans are a biological entity. Before we are Catholic, or Protestant, or atheist, or agnostic, or capitalist, or communist, or anything else. Whoops. In the Anthropocene, there is no longer a distinction between the natural world, natural history, as it is in Genesis, and the human world and human history. Those two histories are completely interlocked, affecting one another. In the Anthropocene, humans are the newest, most powerful geologic agents transforming the planet. We are more powerful then volcanic eruptions, then tsunamis, then hurricanes, then the deposition of oceans and rivers, then mountain building, then the crashing of continents together. Everything that has shaped the world before. We are more powerful in affecting the world. And the acquisition of this power occurred with the acquisition of freedom since the Enlightenment. Oh, this is the wrong slide. We need to turn 5,000 years of knowledge into prediction and into solutions. And we need to do so with sciences, the arts, the humanities. To sustain nations and to sustain the planet. Science alone cannot solve this. One of the first things we have to understand is how did nature, how did our natural evolution, our biological evolution, prime culture, determine a lot of our cultural traits. And if you think that we are born with a tabula rasa, a complete blank slate, without any biological predispositions to our behavior, I would say that's naive. For example, I'm going to talk about low belief and high belief. High belief is faith, low belief is reason. We have basically two kinds of belief on this planet that humans have. I'm sorry, this is an earlier version. Oh God. Can we hold on for a second? You have patience?
Yeah.
Okay.
This will give us time to absorb everything.
Yeah, form your questions.